This is Patrick from WSOU 89.5 FM, the loudest rock, and I am here with Andrea from Lacuna Coil. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, we are a New Jersey radio station, and we have a lot of New York listeners. I saw that you and the band did a review of the best pizzerias in New York City recently. How do we do? I'm curious.
I think the slice pizza is pretty good in New York.
Mhm.
I really like. I think it's very close also to what we have here in Milan, in Italy. Especially Joe's Pizza. Out of the ones we tried, Joe's Pizza is pretty good and pretty close as well. But in Italy, we have a bit more different styles of pizza as well, which you also can get in New York City. Actually, maybe not everywhere in the States, but in New York for sure, you also get a lot of the Napolitan pizza and the Roman pizza. There's a bunch of different styles, but overall, I think America has been improving a lot. I mean, we've been coming to the States for almost 20 years now, and the first times was very hard, because especially the tomato sauce, the marinara sauce was very sweet for us compared to how we would do it. And so we get a bit of acidity. It wasn't a bit hard to digest for us, but the more we tour and the more it improved, I think, especially. But New York has always been pretty good, to be fair, because I think it's closer to Europe and there's a lot of Italian people as well. So it's always been one of the best. New York and Chicago. I really like the deep dish Chicago pizza as well, because it's quite unique, like that we don't have in Italy, for example. But it's good. I like it.
Yeah, I was just curious because we tend to be snobs about that sort of thing around here. So 2022 is a big year for Lacuna Coil because it is the 20th anniversary of your album Comalies. Now, it was a breakthrough album for you guys, but also a breakthrough for the entire goth metal genre. But I know you said that it took a little while for you guys to realize the impact it would have, right?
Yeah, obviously, because we were this little gothic metal band from Europe, from Milan, Italy, not only Europe. And so we never expect to have one of our record having such a great impact in North America, especially radio wise. So from that moment, we started really to change the way we were doing things. We start to get radio hated kind of songs, which we never had before, because we had to do acoustic sets on a radio that we also never did before. So it changed a little bit our perspective, and the perspective of the people towards the European bands that were playing this style, I guess. So it was a total surprise for sure for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I know the recording of this album was probably during one of your busiest years as a band. You just released Unleashed Memories. You toured for the album. You were making TV appearances, radio appearances. Like you just said, it was actually your first US tour as well. When was the decision made during this time to re-enter the studio and make Comalies?
Yeah, basically, back then, we were working more or less on a 1 year, 1 year and a half schedule between albums. So it was kind of the normal time for us to go in the studio, was already kind of organized. But this time we had a little bit more time and more budget in the studio because it was our third record and the budget was increasing every record. And so we spent a little bit more time in the studio, spent more time in pre-production with the producer here in Milan, and then we flew to Germany to record the album. So it was just a normal schedule. It's not something we plan especially, but it was just in the normal routine we normally have. But then obviously that once it started to snowball and become these huge things and more tours, more Ozzfest, MTV requested for the video. So first professional video, second professional video. So it really changed a lot the way we work as a band. We never work at that high level of professionalism. We never got to do all those touring, all those experiences. So it really changed our complete perception of what it is to be in a band. We've been away from home for a long time. We've never been so far away from home for such a long time as in that times. So it really changed completely the way we work, and the way we live also. Also for our families, it was a complete revolution of our normal routine.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like your whole world was thrown upside down. And after you get back from the US with this crazy year you had going into the studio, what's kind of going through your head as you're getting ready to start this whole cycle over again? Is it overwhelming? Is it kind of freeing in a way? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it was exciting for sure because obviously you never expected to reach that level, but once you reach it, you kind of want more, or you want to even push it as at least the same, So it was exciting, and also a little bit for the first time, maybe we felt some pressure because of the importance of the songs, and it wasn't just our own record and that's it. It was also songs that potentially could go to the radio, that potentially be kind of hits or eight singles for what it is for metal. And so there was definitely more pressure working on that record. But it was also very exciting to see. And in the end, he succeeded and he did really well. And so we were very, very happy. And maybe it's some stuff that you realize even afterwards, after many years, because when you're there and you get more tours, more shows, more festivals, it's kind of become a routine in a way, and then you appreciate it when you probably grow up a little bit or a little older, and you look back, you take some time to look back and say, oh, I've done this, I've done that, I've been able to sustain myself for so many years just with the music. So you realize more, of the success, what it meant, the legacy you've created with people. It's been very, very exciting, but also surprising.
So you just mentioned how you had a little bit more budget with this album, a little bit more time in the studio, and you recorded the album at Woodhouse Studios in Germany with Waldemar Sorichta. And this studio and this producer has almost been a staple throughout your career. What is it about recording at Woodhouse with Waldemar that makes these albums turn out the way they do?
Basically, Woodhouse was sort of the house studio for all the Century Media bands. Most of them, they were working with Valdemar. Not all of them, but the ones that were working with Valdemar were all recording at Woodhouse, which was a very nice studio with a little bit of also room for there was like a ping pong table, a video game room. There was a little bit of a chill out areas. So it was a very comfortable studio in a small town called Hagen, very close to Dortmund, always in Germany. And Valdemar knew all the gear very well because he always worked there, he always engineered there. And it was a very pretty good level studio. The fun thing is that we were staying in an apartment that was on the top floor of the label building, Century Media building. So there was the warehouse and then the offices, and then on top there was this little apartment that they used for artists, but it was very tiny. We were sleeping in bunks bed, like three bunks bed, six people in the same room, and then we had one kitchen, one restroom, and another smaller room. So it was kind of cozy, but also very tight, and we almost kill each other playing Tekken on the console, play video games because we're getting too much time all together into little space. But it was fun. Now that we look back and think back, it was a great times. I remember in the winter, when we couldn't go out because it was always raining, and we would take the day off every Sunday from the studio. We were playing like board games like Hero Quest or something like that together. So we still have a lot of great memories. And when the guys were recording the music, me and Christina would stay home and write the lyrics and cook for everybody when they come back. It was fun times for sure. I mean, a very familiar, very good atmosphere, and Woodhouse was also very beautiful structure to record, and not too expensive, but very, very professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And nowadays bands can record no matter where they are. They could be on opposite ends of the world, but
Yeah.
Being in close quarters with each other and being able to bond like that, do you think that impacts the recording of the album and the dynamic in the studio?
Well, maybe not so much on the songwriting level, because obviously we kind of pre-produce everything even back then. If it was just in the rehearsal room and not with computers and stuff like that, but we're still very, very ready to go. And we knew what we had to record. Obviously, back then it was also recorded in analog on tape, so there wasn't like Pro Tools or that stuff. So we had to do 1 million take just to make it good enough. And so it was a different era, different world. But definitely those times together strengthened us as a band, gave us a bond as being very tight unit, and learn the good and the bad from each other. Maybe didn't interfere so much on the result of the record, but as a band, when we go on tour afterwards, we knew each other very well, and so that helps a lot, being isolated, being focused, and also bond together, as more of understanding each other in the good and in the bad things.
Yeah, of course. And I know that the name of the album, Comalies, had something to do with your guys' state of mind while recording the album. I know the band said uh, it was kind of surreal. You almost felt like you were in a coma. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's also because of the time we spent together, the isolation, and the fact that we were only thinking about the songs and the writings, and it was very, very. It felt like we were living just for that record, just for that music. We were in a tunnel, and we felt in a coma in that sense that we were only thinking about the music every day and the record. And it was in a good way. We were very focused, and so we decided to combine the word coma with the word lies because it sounded like comalized, and also because in the lyrics we were talking about the lies we were finding out with previous band members or other situation around the business and the life on the tour. And so we thought it was a good title, and we always like to combine a Latin word with an English word, like Lacuna Coil as well, like in the name of the band as well. So we would just like to play with the words a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you record the album, and up until that point, Unleashing Memories was your biggest album. And of course, you didn't plan for Comalies to have the impact it did. When did you start to realize that this album was striking a chord with so many people around the world? When did you first notice?
Probably, I think that the big switch in the perception was when we got invited to do Ozzfest 2004, because we always saw Ozzfest through the magazines or through MTV or something like that, but we never thought we could actually be part of such a great lineup. And the headliners were like Black Sabbath in the original lineup with Judas Priest, Slayer. The second stage was like Slipknot, Lamb of God, Hatebreed, like so many great bands. So for us to be there for the first time, little band from Europe, being on that stage with all those bands, and we were sounding completely different than any other bands because we weren't into the hardcore metal. We were more into the doomy, moody, slowing gothic songs. So that was probably also one of the reasons why we stand out so much, because we were sounding completely different than everybody else, and we got also the female voice. So it was a combination of unique elements. So I think Oddfest was really when we understood that something was changing. The amount of record we were selling every week, the signing session getting crowded and crowded, and the spins at the radio were getting higher, and MTV was bombing the video and keeping playing it over and over. So we really understood something was changing. But I think Ozzfest was really the turning point where we really realized we were not the little gothic metal band from Milan anymore.
And what's going through your head when you're playing these songs at Ozzfest? You said you spent so long living right on top of each other, focused on this album and focused on the recording and songwriting of it. And now you get to play at a marquee festival in front of thousands of people. What did that feel like? What was that experience like?
I mean, it was unbelievable. One day I remember we just got an endorsement from Pearl Drums for our drummer, and we got the new kit for Ozzfest. And I remember there was Bill Ward from Black Sabbath that came check us out our kit and help our drummer building the kit, setting up the kit in the back of the trailer of the tour bus. And then he was coming to eat every day with us, and he was telling us he got a radio show in the college in California, and he was playing our songs even before Ozzfest, and so he knew about us, and so it was surreal, every day being there with like Phil Anselmo or Ozzy, or see these people you only saw on TV or on the magazines, and then we were having fun with Slipknot till late night and hanging out with these guys. It was just a summer camp for bands, but everybody you knew, they were famous people. They were like popular musicians or people you always admire as growing up as a kid. So it was very, very a strong impact with the reality, you know, for us.
Summer camp for famous people. I love that.
For famous bands, at least.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And yeah, the album was definitely a turning point for you guys. And to celebrate the 20th anniversary of this album, you released a remix version called Comalies 20. And you've said that it's more reconstructed, more transported. And this is the first time I've seen a reissue of an old album or a remix of an older album of this size, this magnitude. What inspired you guys to reconstruct and remix this album?
The very first time we've tried to do something similar has been for one of the songs from the very first EP that we decided to play at a special show we did in London to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the band. And we rearranged the song, we re-record the keyboards for the songs and some of the backing tracks because we wanted, since it was very old, we wanted to sound closer to the actual sound of the rest of the set list. But we've done that only for the live show. We never recorded in a record or anywhere. We just did it for the live show. So we did it, and we liked the way it turned out. So when it was the time to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Comalies, the label suggested we were doing a remaster. But a remaster of a record basically means you're gonna compress the files of the separate tracks and make it sound louder. That's all it does to your record. And so we decided that wasn't enough for celebrating the 20 year of such a staple record for us. So we decided, why don't we do the same we've done with that song with the full album, and we try to challenge ourselves and bring the 2002 record into 2022 with the current sound of the band, with the current lineup of the band. Like our current drummer, when we released Comalies, he was 12. so now for him, it wasn't his first Lacuna Coil record. He grew up with other records, more recent records of Lacuna Coil. And so it was a good challenge for us, for the listener, for the fans. It was also risky because when you touch something that is kind of a holy grail for fans, you know, it's always risky. But for us, it was clear that it needed to be a celebration of Comalies, not to erase the past or forget what it was, or we don't like anymore what it was, but just bring it in a more current mood, bring it more into the current set list as well. And we tried, and we liked the result. And so far, most of the people was been pretty happy with it. So it was a good fun thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. And you just said how you wanted to take Comalies from 2002, bring it into 2022, and it definitely does sound like more 2022 Lacuna Coil. What did you guys do to put a more modern, reconstructed twist on this album?
I think we touch a little bit the structure of the songs, the BPM, like the speed of certain songs. Some are a little slower, some are faster. The heaviness, obviously, it's obviously more dark and heavy compared to the original one. So it's just a bit more current to our sound, especially. And we cut a little bit some parts that were a bit boring, maybe because back then it was normal to do some just instrumental endings. For example, nowadays there's not the same attention span from the listeners that there was back then. So we decided to try, and the most difficult thing was to understand where to stop, you know, where you were changing too much the song and we're getting too far from the essence of the song, you know. So for some songs are probably a little closer to the original, some are a little more experimental, but overall I think the essence is always there. And that was the hardest challenge, was to understand where was the line to draw, to don't go too much, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And you just said how you wanted to make it sound more in line with the rest of your set list now, and you did make your return to touring post-pandemic this year, opening up for Apocalyptica. What are you most excited about playing these new versions of the songs on Comalies for your fans now, 20 years later?
The good things is that we can play more songs from Comalies now because they fit better with the set list. And basically in the recent years we've been playing just Swamp, the big single, because we obviously have a lot more songs from the most recent records. And so now we have the chance to bring some more of the old songs into the set list, like 5-6 songs, you know. And they flow obviously better. We just did a show here in Milan, like a special show called Come Alive, where we did the whole new version of the record for the fans, mixed with our classic songs. and it was really nice show, really good show with a lot of people, and it was sort of like a party because people was coming, and they were really wanting to celebrate together the bond, the legacy of the record of the 20 years, and of the connection with the band, obviously. And so this is a good chance for us to play more of the old songs in the new set list. Matter of fact, we're gonna start a tour in 2 weeks. We're gonna go to Australia and Southeast Asia, and we're gonna bring a lot more of the old songs as well into the set list. And they obviously flow better because the arrangement are closer to what we normally play on the recent records. And so that's the main thing, I think, especially on a live setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely sounds really exciting. Now, I have to ask about the genre goth metal because you guys were definitely at the forefront of it, and to me, it's one of the most fascinating metal genres. When did you first hear the term goth metal being used?
To be fair, I don't even remember, but because in the beginning, I remember when we were listening to bands like Paradise Lost or Typo Negative or Anathema, it was more, we were calling it more like doom metal, even if it's not exactly doom metal, because doom metal is supposed to be only slow, and some of these bands also had faster paced songs. But we were calling it doom, and then from maybe some magazine they started calling goth metal, and for us it was always sometimes a bit restricting as a term, because I think we belong, definitely that's where we come from, and we still like that, the gothier atmosphere and the bands I mentioned. But I think sometimes we also had something else in the music. Sometimes we're also more fast or heavy, or so it's part of our sound. They call it, usually when they mention us now, it's called more like alternative metal, which I don't also know what it means exactly, because it could mean everything. But I think it's fine for us. It's not a problem to be called goth metal. We're proud of our roots, and it's not a problem if you call it alternative metal either. For us, it's just metal. Whatever. It's atmospheric metal or whatever you want to call it. But I definitely dig the gothic scene, and I still like a lot of. Matter of fact, 2 days ago I went to see The Cure playing here in Milan. So I still love all the bands we grew up to, like Sister of Mercy and Bauhaus and Cure and all that gothier sounding band.
Yeah, definitely. Well, 20 years later, it still works.
Yeah, I would still love it.
So thank you so much for doing this, Andrea. Lacuna Coil, Comalies 20 is out now. It's stylized as Comalies XX. Go stream it, download it, get the vinyl, cassette, whatever you got to do. I saw you got some different colored vinyls for this one. That's pretty cool.
Yes. And the vinyl actually include also the CDs, and you got both albums, the original Comalies and the new version.
Yeah, definitely go check all that out. Andrea, is there anything else you want to add?
Just want to thank you guys for the support, but also all the listener in America. Thank you very much for supporting along the way, and hopefully we're gonna see you not too long. And stay tuned on lacunacoil.com for gigs and other news we're gonna spread very soon.
All right, fantastic, Andrea. Thank you. This is Patrick, WSOU 89.5.
Ciao.